Anyways, all right. Kyle's doing something to the camera.
Good. Let's do it.
Let me get into character here. Hey guys, welcome back to the Transformation Church month. Let's start over. I can never remember this.
Message recap.
I don't know how. I literally cannot remember. My brain freezes when it gets there. Hey guys, welcome back to the Transformation Church Message Recap Podcast.
Yeah. Come on.
We're back.
Let's go.
Back again. Oh. Got a crispy Coke Zero going on. I opted for Sprite today.
Good for you.
And it's if it was a little colder, it would be better.
That's the thing, man. Soda's got to be the right temperature.
But it is good. Sprite, sometimes Sprite just hits,
Been knocking down
McDonald's
water like
Sprite
crazy.
hits.
Dude,
McDonald's Sprite. It's like Lydia said, you can fry fish in that.
Yeah, it tastes like TV static.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's so good.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
It's so good.
But it is, I haven't had a Sprite in a while. It's good. So anyways, we're back. Dave's got water. He's being good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been knocking down water.
What are you wearing? A soccer shirt? Jersey?
Man City, baby.
I got on deployment.
Oh.
Got it in Dubai.
Did you?
Did.
Odd flex.
Wow.
But,
I did. I have to say I got it.
Well, yeah,
Good for you. Hey.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I
we're
got
back.
this from the refrigerator in the offices.
It's we're back after a long couple weeks.
Oh my
Long
goodness.
weekend for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had 21 days of prayer, which was great. But I'm glad it's over. Not gonna lie.
It was good.
I got an idea for next year. I don't know if we should talk about it on air.
No, it don't matter.
If there's a place to talk about it, I think this is the
This
place.
is it? I think next year, here's what I'm thinking for next year. Break it up into 3 different weeks. All right. First week is 6 a.m. prayer.
Okay.
Second week is like 6 p.m. prayer / worship, Monday through Friday. And then third week is like an online small group type thing. So it's like you either like get the prayer focus online and do it with your family, or you like sync up at some coffee shops and like kind of test run your small group idea.
So it's not all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Especially going into reframe. That last week for reframe could be really helpful to.
Yeah.
Well, like that last Friday, I mean, we here at 6. Even though I wasn't because I was sick, so I got
You're
lucky.
at 6.
Yeah, right.
But I felt bad.
I was almost sick too.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
And until 9 o'clock Friday night or whatever.
Yeah, Rick texted me. He's like, I didn't think you were coming this morning for that Friday. I was like, no, I missed a couple days that week already from being sick. So, but yeah,
Well, the sick didn't help. It was just a lot, and then of course
then-
with reframe, reframe was great though. But
yeah, reframe. But it is a lot. 21 days of prayer, 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, rolling into that really really busy weekend. Our team, phenomenal. Just top to bottom. Our staff was so amazing.
well, the hard part about the 6 a.m. is like what people I don't think realize for us. And I guess it's for everybody. I mean, it's a sacrifice for everybody that comes, I guess.
Sure.
But like, let's just say you have one of those jobs where you start at 6 a.m. Like you start early, but you get off at 3 or whatever. It's like that's not that big a deal. For us, the day still exists because some of the people that you got to meet with, they still work till 5 or whatever. So it's like it's hard for us to say, well, during 20 days of prayer, we're gonna give everybody off at 3 those 3 weeks and just go home because there's still stuff in the evening that's got to happen.
Yeah.
You get students is still at 6:30 or whatever on Wednesday. So it's
Pipeline orientations.
yeah. So those are just they become. There were some days we were going home early. You just got to come back for whatever you got to come back for. But it's still longer.
A lot
days.
of 12, 14-hour days.
Yeah.
During 21 days of prayer.
Got a fly attacking Kyle over here.
Killer fly.
So, but prayer was good, and then ending it with reframe.
But I've noticed, and especially in August, I was paying attention this year. Once the teenagers went back to school, we saw a little hit there, and it was like, man, it would be really good to create opportunities. I was really, really excited and really impressed with the number of people that were showing up for 6 a.m. prayer. Yeah, I mean, that was super encouraging as a pastor to see that many people committed. But as you get into the second week, school started and there's a drop. Then third week there's a drop, and it's like, man, maybe there's a way to pivot this each week to where we can continue to see the participation increase rather than decrease. So
yeah, I wonder how many could come at 6 p.m.
Yeah,
It could come at 6 a.m.
It's like a first Wednesday, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
And how many families, right? Like for example, you know, Kyle, you have 2 kids, so like you would be a great judge on this. So it's like I'm not suspecting you to get up Ellie and Emmy at 5:30 in the morning to come to prayer, right? But if you wanted them in prayer culture to bring them to 6 p.m., you know, like they come on Saturdays and stuff. So it's like that would be it'd be more family. It would be more conducive to a family environment on 6 p.m. And not everyone's still going to come to that, right? You got bedtimes and dinners, and we get it. But it was just like creating an opportunity that may be more conducive to open up the opportunities. So, anyways, we'll talk about it. We got time. Figure it out.
Coming up, next one being January.
January is the next one.
Which that always comes faster.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, anyways, but it was a good weekend.
January. Which one's harder, you think, January or August?
I would say August.
I think it's
I
January.
don't know.
January. The fasting is tough. I think it's harder for me to get out of a cold bed.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I get to prayer and it's cold outside and I'm walking in with my hoodie on and it's still dark and I'm like,
I see what you mean by that. But
Because I remember, I don't know if it was last year or whatever. One year in January, it was like freezing. Like, yeah, it was like
Yeah, and
it was
cold.
cold.
Yeah, and it was cold in here. Like the heat never came on.
Well, it's not necessary. Everyone can bring a blanket, you know.
Yeah. No, you swear.
What? Ashley is
I have a special delivery on air.
behind the camera.
Come on over.
Thought you were
Oh,
sick.
jeez.
I am sick.
Oh,
Well, stay
no.
away.
Yeah, what?
Well, it's allergies.
What is going on here?
Yeah,
we got
what?
going on?
Is that like Chinese food or
Ty gave it to me.
Got some cake. We got some fries.
Oh yeah, y'all can split that.
I don't know about all that, but
Oh, I'm getting with Ty. He's doing a big meal for the students on Wednesday for free.
let's
Did
go.
he tell you about that? Yeah. Oh my gosh, the PB special and what's that? Barbecue and honey mustard?
Barbecue honey mustard.
When did you start doing that?
I didn't. He just gave it to her.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to Ty.
Hey, family ties. Come on,
Why are
coming
you getting
through.
that set up like you're about to eat it?
Yeah,
I'm
what?
gonna eat this right now, bro.
You're gonna be. You're gonna go in on some wings mid podcast.
Yes. Yes, I am. We did it before. What are you talking about?
I wasn't on that one, but I mean, I don't think I did because I don't want people seeing me eat wings because
you eat like a freaking 3-year-old when you eat wings, dude.
I have sauce on my fingers and face, and yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, we need a whole
Absolutely.
pile of napkins.
Wow.
Anyways, carry on. Yeah. Thanks, love. Yeah, you guys want some?
I'm good right now. I kind of want that wing right
Get
there,
it,
but
dude.
no, I'm not gonna eat it.
Here,
No,
you can
not,
have one whole napkin to
not
yourself.
Go ahead,
Dude,
Nate.
just get it. Stop being that. Yeah, get it, dude.
Mid podcast.
Yes, bro. Eat the chicken wing. You can turn away from the camera if you want to.
All right, y'all.
Yeah, Kyle will switch to the other.
Everybody,
Yeah,
everybody at home, look away.
Look away. Please don't watch me eat this.
Yep, from family. This is from Family Ties. Listen, Kyle, get this. Get this right here. How do we need to do this?
Extreme close up.
Look at this chicken wing right here. This is Family Ties. Go to Family
Nate,
Ties.
what are you doing? My God.
Go to Family Ties.
Just eat the wing.
If you want to try incredible wings, go to Family Ties. Tell them you want the PB special. Pastor Brad, PB special. Comes with 10 wings with garlic parm and hot sauce on them and french fries. And they do the garlic parm and the hot on the fries also. Unbelievable. So,
Nate, what?
Nate, you're a child, bro.
Was the Sunnies not enough?
Not for me, it wasn't. That salad? No, bro. That
Oh,
was,
you
that
said
what you
it.
messed
Oh,
was
yeah, that's what you
miserable,
meant.
bro.
I didn't realize you had a salad. You messed up there.
Well, you know, I'm doing my.
Try not to get it.
I'm doing the stuff, man. I've got to be healthy and
And then you ruined it with it?
Yeah, what?
it's just protein.
Except for the sauce and
You got
the
that
fry.
camera. I see the camera angle back there. That's crazy.
That's like Nate talking about. I mean, I'm gonna sound 'cause I'm eating healthy, and then drenches it in ranch. It's like now it's no longer healthy.
Well,
It's got to be a calorie deficit. And the ranch does not do that. Now you're a 3,000 calorie salad. Might as well have a Big Mac.
I could go for a Big Mac. Speaking about sandwiches, I had the spicy pimento cheese chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A last night. My favorite sandwich of all time.
Of all time?
At fast food.
They got pimento cheese back again?
Yeah. It started on Monday, which was yesterday. Yeah. It's so good.
I don't know that I don't know that I like the
It's
sound
so
of it.
good. It's
It's
good.
a hot honey, jalapeno, and pimento cheese on. And you can have it original chicken, but I do spicy, and it's really good.
Well, thanks, babe. Thanks for bringing me some chicken.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashley. Oh, I just went to the eye doctor. I have contacts in. Yeah, I got contacts. Yeah.
My dog ate my glasses.
Her dog
still
ate
alive?
her glasses.
True story. True story, bro.
So I literally have to go get him.
Is he still alive?
The dog? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, what?
He could eat the house and he'd still be alive.
Oh. I bet you were like, such a good boy.
Oh, I put a whooping on him.
Oh, yeah.
Ashley said the dog ate her glasses.
I'll be right
No one
back.
can hear what she's saying.
Nate had to go wash his hands. Oh, my God.
Bye, I love you.
Anyways.
A lot going on in this podcast. So,
Yeah, full on. So in my new house, I've frequented the Wingstops. That's right at the
Bro.
Walmart, the Walmart neighborhood market there.
yeah, Dion that works there hooks it up, bro.
They've been pretty good. Pretty
Yeah,
good.
you got deals. That boneless deal? Yeah. Top notch, dude.
Oh, I'm not ordering boneless wings, but
No, that deal, though.
It's like $25 for 25 boneless fries and
oh,
corn.
they got good deals. But literally, I can go the back way through Scenic Hills and pops out right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I've been, I've had
You
that.
can
a
walk
few
there if
times.
you want to. Not that you should. I'm just saying
Yeah.
you could.
I could e-bike there for
Oh,
sure.
there you go.
Yeah. No, they're good. Yeah, I was gonna ride that thing today. Maybe I charged it yesterday.
Oh, really?
Last night. But yeah, the Wingstop. I've been hitting that up a little bit. You know, now that I'm trying to get it. Now that I'm getting adjusted. I was gonna go grocery shopping tonight because I have like no food at the house.
You have
Really,
Everman's right there. I know.
I have Everman's.
What's a nicer? I mean, Publix. You have Publix and Target too. So I don't
You
know.
know, but I'm not a hater on Winn-Dixie. To be honest with you, I like Winn-Dixie.
It's not going to be Winn-Dixie for long.
What is it?
Aldi brought him out.
Really?
Oh.
Which is honestly cheaper and better. I don't know.
I
I've
need to
never
go.
really shopped
I need
at
to hit up the
Winn-Dixie.
grocery store because I got literally nothing at the new house. So I was going to maybe do that this evening, but getting settled. But the Wingstop. Anyway, back to that.
Yeah.
That's my favorite place around my
Stop
house.
killing it, dude.
Yeah, Wingstop is doing the thing. Good ranch, good blue cheese. Whew, that blue cheese is so good.
Stop. No one
The
wants
ranch
blue
is-
cheese.
I love
the
blue
ranch
cheese.
is fantastic.
The ranch is fantastic.
No, the last time I went, they messed the order up. I forgot to order all flats, which is my fault. But they had a wrong flavor, and then in my bag there was like they gave me extra. They gave me somebody's boneless wings too, which I'm not hating that I got extra stuff, but yeah, they were like fat. It's fast and everything, so
So good.
you know, it's right. It's literally right there. So I'm excited. Yeah. Oh yeah,
Oh,
I
you
get
got one
delivery.
right up here. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I get delivery every once in a while.
Really?
Kyle lives near the
bad.
church-ish.
Oh, you got the new one, the new Wingstop.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, right here.
But it's
Yeah.
only takeout, and it's only You can't sit.
Yeah.
I mean, we have.
We've
yeah,
been for lunch.
at the Mobile down.
By the Walmart down
By the
there?
Walmart down
In
there.
the hood?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's not bad.
it was good.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
dude.
It was good.
It was
That's
good.
the OG Wingstop right there, though.
Yeah, it was good.
Like the first one in Pensacola.
It was one of them.
Yeah. Well, they're all one of them, right?
Not one of the Wingstops, one of the first ones. If it wasn't the first one, it's one of them. One of the first two.
Nate's real confused here.
I know. He's dumbfounded right now.
That's crazy. Oh
I had
my
5
gosh.
people talking about that. in the
There's
hallway.
at least one thing every week that somebody comes up and talks to me about that happened on the podcast that y'all.
I'm shocked you guys keep watching this thing. Are you watching it because you think it's going to get better? Like one day they're going to come on here and do something.
No,
Here we are. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
Going in on some wings right now. That
You're
wing was
literally
pretty
eating
Yeah, like-
dinner right now.
yeah.
Now, anyways, this weekend, go
really
back.
good.
Let's circle back here.
Reframe.
Reframe. Let's reframe this conversation.
Hey, there you go.
Reframe was good.
Reframe was really
We do.
good.
We need some kind of sound effects. Reframe was really good. Friday night started off, kicked off good. It's a good time. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a lot of people registered, more than we've had. Of course, this is only our third year doing this, but we had 455, I think, ended up total was the registered number.
Yeah.
And some people couldn't make it Saturday that were here Friday night and vice versa, but
Yeah.
it was just really good. I mean, it was like we were talking about in the meeting earlier, some of those moments where it was like supposed to be a panel discussion that turned into a
Yeah.
Yeah, if you left
Caution
at
in the
lunch and
presence.
didn't come back, you missed out.
Yeah,
because there's a
right.
lot of people that go to lunch and then don't come back. But y'all missed out because
Yeah.
that was
wild.
it was nuts. So
It was crazy. I mean, me and Rick walked out because we were doing something, and then we walked back in, and like Pastor Dan was standing up, and half the people had their hands raised, and people were standing up, and I told Rick, I was like, "What happened?"
Like Zeke, his engagement.
yeah.
What's going on?
He's not in proposing, is he?
oh, you said Zeke at my engagement.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was some inside joke. You were talking about some movie or something. That's why I was like, oh, okay,
Zeke
yeah,
at your
yeah,
engagement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was actually there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it was.
I wish I could've seen that.
You're right. If you left that lunch, you missed out. It was good.
Yeah.
Our team did a good job. The worship team did a good job. It was cool having the guys from Freedom Church, Pastor
Yep.
Arnie and Tony, and then here.
Absolutely.
It's great. It's a good time.
It was.
Glad
Great
it's
time.
all over.
Yeah, I'm a conference guy though. Like I know I say it a lot, but I do. I enjoy it. I enjoy coming to church and being in church on a non-church day, if that makes sense. And just seeing other people that come on Sundays, see them outside of Sundays, but like during the whole day. And I don't know. I like it. Like our trips to Birmingham and stuff. Like I enjoy that. Like that's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are fun. Conference is fun.
They're fun. And
I just like
It's a little different when you're the one putting it on. as
Right,
opposed to
right.
going to it.
yeah.
Of course, you didn't do much, but
That's crazy. I didn't. No, you're right. I didn't.
No, I mean, and some of it there's not much. It's like there's a good bit of planning on the front end,
Yeah.
and then there's like the setup the day of or day before. Of course, the worship and they have more. They have more involved, especially at
Yeah.
that particular conference, I guess. But yeah, it is fun. I was joking. I was going to bring up that intro video that I was like, "What in the Ignite?"
the
from night
Jesus,
one?
the kingdom. Yeah,
I was like, that was one of our openers for Ignite back in the day. Hot minute. It's good. That's why I guess.
It got people on fire.
Yeah. So we used to open up Ignite with that bad boy.
Cool.
Ignite is a ministry. Justin, explain Ignite for the people.
Ignite was basically, once a month. Reframe once a month.
Yeah, it's
Kind of like motion night,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Geared towards younger, youth groups and young adults and all that. We did that back in the day.
Just not connected to a church. I know y'all did it at your church, but not connected to the church.
that was the
branded,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't branded to the church, but at the end of the day, and that's the funny thing. Maybe there's something to talk about because I'm glad you brought that up.
All right, let's hear it.
Part of the original idea. So we're going back. This is 2009 and 10, right? I'm newly saved. I went to Birmingham with Rick
To the base. No.
to the basement.
Basement.
Which
okay.
brings how me and Rick know each other. Rick was in Montgomery in Prattville that he was youth pastor. I was working in Montgomery, and I got connected with Rick through a mutual a friend at the church I was at here in Pensacola that knew Rick. While I was up there working, he said, "You ought to go on Wednesday night to Rick's church." I was like, "Cool." Rick was the youth pastor. I was not in the youth group, but I was going, and I met Rick, and he let me come kind of just hang out and be like a adult leader or whatever, but I was just there. My first night there that I met Rick, he invited me to this thing. He's like, next Tuesday, we're going to Birmingham to the basement if you want to go with us. I was like, sure. I went and looked it up. I called Kirk, who was my good friend, which is John Sapp's father-in-law. And I said, hey, come up here, drive to Montgomery, and then we'll ride together and follow Rick, and then we'll go to to Birmingham to this thing called the Basement. And the Basement is essentially very much like a Motion Night. It was this ministry that was not tied to a church, and they did these big events. It was really powerful. I mean, the church I got saved in was very traditional in a lot of ways, especially Pentecostal, like small Pentecostal church. So this opened my eyes to like, oh, I didn't know you could do this in church. Like I didn't know you. I grew up Catholic, you know. So my vision of church in my head is everything's real formal and traditional. Right. Yeah. So then I walk into this event that there's literally 5,000 people there in the room, and we walked in we were a little late, and we walked in. There's like Christian rappers on the stage, and I was like, what is going on? And then the rappers like walk off, and then these two guys come out with acoustic guitars, and they just did like 2 songs of worship, just acoustic. And it was like from rap to acoustic worship, and like there's 5,000 people that were like my age-ish worshiping. And I was like, I never seen that before, because I was just in this little Pentecostal church in Cantonment, you know? So I was like, oh, wow. And then I was like, Pensacola needs this. That's what me and so the whole ride home, me and Kirk were talking about Pensacola needs something like this, because had this existed here locally, I'd have been in church a long time ago, you know, the whole thing. So we were like, we started this thing called Ignite, which was our version of what we saw in Birmingham. And we started it. It was independent of a church. The church we were at kind of was going through it fizzled out, dissolved. We were doing our own thing, and then we ended up at the church that I was at for a long time, that John was at and Rick was at. And so it was kind of our thing. And the pastor there let us, it was really gracious, because it wasn't connected to our church, even though it was. And that's the thing. What I'll say is a good thing to talk about is like, I learned a lot, because I got to a place where originally I was like, I don't even want to host the events in a church. I don't want them to be churchy. But it's like, it's just so hard to do. And it's like, is that wrong? Like, I learned a lot. And at the end of the day, you know, through other churches that were gracious, including our own and our pastor there, he didn't require us to brand in to the church or anything like that. He was just he would let us use the facilities, and all the stuff had nothing to do with us, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was very gracious of them. And it was also like the biggest thing the church had going on at the time, like drew the biggest crowd outside of a Sunday. So there was some benefit from it, but
Sure.
And then that's where we reconnected, and then Brad and them through Transformation Church, which it was Hearts of Love then, their youth group would come out, or youth band, or their
youth
worship
pastor
team.
At that time.
He was a youth pastor.
Yeah, as youth pastor then.
And so what we would do is
we
we
also
would
led worship a lot.
yeah, we would try to bring in. We would have a Christian. We would always open up with a Christian rapper, so it's like very high energy, hype. That's when Christian.
Edify.
That's when Christian rap was taking off. Yeah. Like that's when Lecrae was like getting big and all this. So it was a time where it was probably a little more so than now.
Yeah, Church Clothes Volume 1, like that.
Yeah, it was very much
pre 116. Yeah,
it was
pre 116.
It was that era. And there was so I made connections with some of the local Christian rappers, and we'd always open with, we had like a cool intro video like that, This Is My King, and then it would go right into like a rapper, and then we'd have worship. And the idea was to bring in worship groups from other churches, and then whoever. So sometimes they come and led worship. One time they led worship and you preached. One time y'all didn't lead worship, but I think you were still there and just preached. Yeah. And like I would bring other people in, because it wasn't about like our church or me. It was trying to just bring people together. Yeah. But the hard part is that's why we stopped. I mean, we just literally stopped one day, because the whole goal was to reach that younger crowd that wasn't in church. But we were working so hard to invite all the churches, because you wanted a crowd there, honestly. I mean, honestly, you don't brothers working, no one be there. Yeah. But before I knew it, I was like, I spent so much time, you know, on the phone with other youth pastors around town. And you bring your kids, y'all coming, and you, some of the stuff you run into with Motion Night, where they want to come, and last minute they don't, or their pastor doesn't want them to, because then this is the cool thing. And I'm like, dude, it just was a lot. And I was like, man, at the end of the day, the room is all saved Christians. Is not what the goal was.
Yeah, it's a Christian pep rally.
It was good and all. Don't get me wrong. It was just. It's also very hard to do what we were just set out to do. Yeah. How do you, because it turns into a church. And that's the thing, is like, at what point, that's where the Basement failed. They were so big for a few years, and the guy was like traveling all over the country and preaching at youth conferences, and tons of young people getting saved. But it's like, then what? And it's like, at what point are you a church? At what point should you be a church if you're not one? or whatever. And that's, and I think like Church of the Highlands Birmingham did it right, because the basement was, they were doing it the last 2 years at Church of the Highlands, and Highlands was helping them put on the production aspect and provided some of the worship team and all this stuff. And at one point though, it's like all these kids getting saved every week, but what are you doing with them?
Yeah.
And that's where I think Chris Hodges and Mark Pettis, as the youth pastor back then at Highlands, made a very smart move, was to disassociate with the basement, and they started Motion Night, their version of that, which was how Motion Night started. And because they had our youth group, we were doing the small groups, we're doing all the discipleship stuff with our students, and if all they want is a once a month big event, well, we can do that too.
Yeah.
And that's where the basement failed. And I think that's where Ignite ultimately, if you use the word fail, I don't know if fail's right. We just stopped doing it because I didn't like what it had become. But I don't know. I was like, at some point, what do we do with all this? Or it's like, and the people that were coming were like our church people. Like most of the room is from our church. Some of them aren't even teenagers or young adults. They're older crowd that just liked.
They just want to go to another church thing.
Another thing.
Yeah. Doors are open. I'm going.
Right. Which, really wasn't for them, but we didn't keep them out because we could count them, because it's like at some point you wanted to, the more successful you looked.
Yeah.
And it just was just like, I don't know, it got to be not as fun. And it was like, man, none of the church kids were doing what the purpose was, which was the reason we were going to youth groups is because now all you were supposed to go invite all your friends from school that don't go to church. Yep. And they just, kids are bad at that.
Yeah.
Or just wasn't cool enough, or just they will do it if it's cool enough.
Yeah.
And it just didn't meet their level of what I'm going to invite my friends to.
Gotcha.
Just another church thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was never the idea for this to be another church thing.
Yeah.
And so we were like, I was done with it. I remember I think our last Ignite service, I wasn't even there because I had, I believe it was November. And I was going to my mom's for the week of Thanksgiving, and I decided to go early. And it was the only one I ever missed because I led it all, and I was just going to let the team do it. And it was the last one. I think that was the last one we ever had. We never had another one, and the last one we had, I was not even there.
Wow.
But I was like, wow. Yeah. But they came a few times, and it was really, I say they were good because y'all did services like that too, like that type of, they were longer. We would worship with the spirit would be moving. We'd go into
we were
I got videos. Brad's on guitar in the back. I feel like God's come down to the front and all the. We're doing an hour and a half of worship.
It was very Jesus culture.
Very much all that. Yeah. And it was good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I liked, what we used to do is we used to always have a prayer night the night before. So everybody on our team would come and we would put music on and we'd be in the auditorium, the sanctuary, and we would pray over it. And that turned into some powerful nights too because we'd be praying over each other and the spirit would move. We had some powerful moments in that. It was just a different time. That was, like I said, 2012 was the year we did the last one. It's been.
And that was for the youth.
Yeah, and college age.
Okay, so I would have been able, because I would have been in 9th grade at that time, I think. 9th grade?
Maybe, yeah. About
10th grade, yeah.
How old are you now?
27. So I graduated in 2015.
So you're younger
2014,
than Dylan
2015.
Dylan and them is 10 years. Dylan's 29 now. That age group. Mm-hmm. Dylan is who I talked about before. Yep. His him and Josh, their age group, when they graduated high school, I was done with youth ministry. I was that was the last class I was close to. And then the ones coming after them, the whole time were younger. And then Josh had the heart transplant, so that was just a big time when he was in his junior year. But I was really close with Dylan and Josh and Cotton and that whole crowd. And then when they graduated, I was like, I think I'm done with youth ministry. I felt done with it. Yeah. I was the next group, I didn't know them as well. And they were wanting me to come out and do some other things, and at first I didn't want to, but I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, I'm good." But but they were 10 years younger than me the whole time. So when they were 14, I was 24. It was we just did a thing. So But anyways, but it was like, what is this a church or not? It's not connected to the church. So I was like, what is it?
Well, I think-
It's a ministry. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think that it's like the ramp. It reminds me of the ramp. In
The ramp,
up in
yeah.
Muscle Shoals and the Haleyville area, which is kind of the same way. Karen Wheaton and them. It's like you're either going to have a revolving door of people constantly. The ramp is huge and has been going for 25 years or something. I mean, but I mean, it wasn't. It was like 10, 15 years ago, I guess. They were going for like 10 years, I think, before it was a church. Like, no, it's in the church. It's just something that young people go to, and they go back to their churches. And at some point, everyone was like, yeah, but we don't want to go back to our church. Like, can we just have Sunday services here? And eventually, Karen had to make the decision of like, okay, we're a church. Like, we'll just be a church. Because, yeah, same thing. At some point, you're looking around the room. It's like, why would we not be a church?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's like because you're figuring out childcare and all this stuff. And it's like,
well, and it costs a lot of money. I mean, by the time Karen had to make that decision, by the time the ramp made that decision, I mean, they had a 25,000 square foot facility,
Yeah,
lights,
it's huge.
electrical staff. I mean, it wasn't small. Like, it's a big deal. It's a lot to take care of. And so, even though I think the city gave them the building, they just had to renovate it or something. But still, it's in it like an old Winn-Dixie. But all that to say is, yeah, it can be a lot, and I think also too, it's like you said, like you have to pivot it, right? I think like the basement would eventually flamed out if it didn't have something to turn into, right? It's like
when he got
has to change.
and he got a little squirrely, and he got arrested. The head guy,
Yeah.
he got arrested on stupid stuff like impersonating a police officer and like weird stuff. But what's funny about that is that he got arrested twice on that. Sat in jail for a year, waiting to go to prison.
Gee.
But then his lawyer, then they fought. They were fighting the case the whole time, and then he was acquitted of everything. So the whole time he looked crazy, and he was like, "I'm not. This is what really happened." And he looked crazy, and he was blaming. He was like, "It's a conspiracy against me." The sheriff and all this stuff, and he looked crazy, like he had been, because he was a former drug addict. It's like he's got back on drugs or something. He's not lost his mind.
That's all.
But then he got acquitted of like literally everything, and he come out. He's like, "I told y'all."
Yeah, I tried to tell
There was
you.
a point I was like, maybe he was. I don't know what's going on up there in Birmingham.
Yeah, old
but
Beeham,
Wonder what he's
a
doing.
little sideways up there.
I heard he's. His dad owned like a pest control company. And I heard I've done research. I've tried to locate him online. Like, what's he doing now? He's not on social at all. He was a big name.
Yeah.
His name was Matt Pitt. He was a big name in that 2000.
The pest control industry, spraying and praying, baby. Just,
Yeah. Dude, he was a big deal for about 3 years.
He was.
I mean, we looked into bringing him into Pennsylvania. Mark Carpenter was like, how much to get this guy? He saw a video of him.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll pay to get him here for one of your events. And then it was like $5,000 just to have him come speak. And I was like,
I don't know.
yeah, not fine. I spent $5,000.
yeah, 500
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
It was $5,000
Yeah.
to come from Birmingham. And he did. I've told Nate this before, but he did three events a week outside of the basement. He had a schedule. So the basement was on Thursday nights. Then he'd fly out Friday and do somewhere Friday night. And then Saturday, preach somewhere Sunday, fly back Monday.
Get ready for Thursday.
And get ready Tuesday, Wednesday. Then his team was always there getting ready, and he'd show up and kind of do his part for the basement again on Thursday. Wow. Bringing in $15,000 a week just in the outside speaking engagement fees. There's a lot. I mean, they had big money rolling in.
Yep. Fame will do that.
But yeah,
Write that
he
down,
went
Nick.
he went out there a little bit.
Fame will do that.
Fame will do that. Anyways, it was just a different time. I don't think that stuff works now. That's why Nate fought us a little bit about with events and stuff, like big events where it's like, I don't believe some of that works anymore in some ways. I believe it can work at a certain point.
Well, I think the argument can be made because we tried it too. We tried it at Hearts of Love with the Valley. Then a few years later, you guys came with Ignite, and we were like, well, maybe we could never get it off the ground. It was the same thing. It was our people. It was whatever. When you guys started, it was like maybe they can get it off the ground. It didn't work for us. And kind of the same thing. It was just kind of like, and it's a part of it, I think, is regional. I think things can happen in,
Right.
Covington, Kentucky, or Birmingham, Alabama, that Pensacola just, my God, dude.
Well, then
It's
there comes a tipping point too, where I don't know that it's spiritual at all. Maybe some. There comes this point where it's just like the basement. At some point, when they were smaller, it was surely harder, but then it just becomes like it's the thing everyone's talking about, and before you know it, there's 1,000 people, and once you get 1,000 people showing up, it's not that hard to get 2,000. And if you're getting 2,000, pretty soon you're gonna have three. Before you know it, it's this massive thing. In that realm, it's just kind of like what Rick would say when he was at the height of him with student ministry in Prattville when I first met him. I mean, 500 kids on a Wednesday night. That's
in Prattville.
In Prattville, like that is very impressive. Yeah. But he'd be the first one to tell you most of those kids did not go to their church on Sunday. Their families didn't go there. It was just the cool thing to do on Wednesday night in Prattville.
Yeah.
There's like one high school there or whatever, maybe two, and like some of the popular kids at both schools went to his church and were a part of it, and that just drew other kids. But it was kind of like the perfect storm of like, this is the cool thing to do in Wednesday night in Prattville.
Well,
show up to our church.
I always wondered that about stuff like the basement and just movements in general that come and go. Is it's like is part of it a anti-traditional agenda? Or not agenda's not a good word, but like a movement of like, I want to worship Jesus, but no church in my city does it the way I want them to.
I think it's
and I'm a young person, so now this place is here, and we all kind of go to this thing, right? And it's like, and I think the downfall to that you see over time is there's no extended discipleship plan. It's because it's like if you built and not to say that was his intention, and that definitely was the intention of Ignite or anything like that, but it's like I think we've all slowly realized when you build the draw on the backbone of either entertainment or kind of a countercultural movement, you are subconsciously telling people the most important thing is what you want, as opposed to being connected to something bigger than you.
Or not just that. I think that like I'll compare Ignite with the basement. The basement, maybe it was countercultural in the sense of you had young people who were relating to this guy. He was very animated on stage, preached very simple messages that were like, because he didn't have a training himself. He was a drug addict and got saved in his basement. His dad led him to the Lord in his basement. That's how it all started, right? He's very animated on stage though, and it's. Their whole thing was very much a production in the sense of every message had this very elaborate human video thing with, but it's like, then it's very production heavy. You know what I mean? Then it's like, and that was like, that's what Rick's very good at it. And I think it worked for Rick, but Rick did the same thing. That was that era in his, as a student pastor, where he had a lot of human videos in his messages that he would write. But it's like, man, if that's your thing, it's like your whole planning becomes about the production of this event. Yeah. And I remember that with Ignite. I remember going up to the church leading up to that by myself and like playing with the lights and stuff, because we had a very simple thing, and like with the intro video, it's like, and that's what I've seen you do in some ways, not near as bad as we did, where I was like, man, that's where, like, if I could caution, is like, I spend so much time, is this the right intro video to get everyone hyped? There was nothing spiritual about it. It was like not less time about, is my message ready that's communicating the gospel where kids get saved? Like, is that the right intro video that's going to get everybody hyped up?
Yeah. Well, I
and
think,
not that that's bad.
I think for us too, it's like we didn't really have a team when we were doing it. You know what I mean? Where it was like, it's like we were doing everything. And I think about where I was in Ignite for you. It was like, even though you kind of had a team, it was like we were doing everything. And it was like every for 3 hours on lights, that means someone wasn't spending 3 hours on their sermon or what. Like, that was very detrimental, I think, to some of it.
It just became production heavy. I
say all that to say is like, you have a really good team is what I was getting
at, I cared more. I got to a place where I felt like I don't know that I cared more, but it sure felt like I did based on where I spent my time on how cool is this going to look.
I mean, I guess,
and I think you've probably seen aspects of that come out of me where I've come against some of the stuff you want to do at motion night, and I'm like, it's a waste of money. Don't do this. And you're sitting there going, I don't understand why he's getting as frustrated as he is. In your head is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And I probably never even explained myself. It's because I remember that where I was like, that's all I was doing. It was like, I didn't think it was the right thing. And I'm not saying you, and that's not to imply that that's what you're doing. Well, I think you probably saw aspects of me going back in my head, like, that's why I didn't like it.
I think, to me, it just thinks, I'm just saying, like, where's your heart in it? Is like, my heart is to connect to these kids so they can connect to the gospel whenever I, not for the hype, but in a sense to break down those walls, kind of like what we do on Sundays in a sense. And
Fully agree.
And I think, there's a part of it where it's like, okay, where's the production and, all that stuff. But I really think there's a connection because we've grown in a sense where kids are bringing their friends from school.
Yeah.
Like they are bringing their unsaved friends from school, like legitimately. And I think it's so cool because our motion nights have been heavy on the fear of God, holiness, and everything. It haven't been like watered down subjects. They've been on like deep subjects for a Sunday church, where it's like, hey, y'all don't get up during service because I want you to honor and respect the presence of God. And it's like they have been receiving that. And I don't think that, I think
there's a couple that might have missed it, but
I'm just kidding. Okay. See, that's crazy. I'm trying to be so serious and all this stuff.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I'm with
They
you.
weren't there. Probably.
They weren't. They missed it. But it's just, I think we're not saying that what we're doing is better than what y'all did. Our mindset, mindset.
Yeah, I'll say that. I don't know him, but I'll say that.
My mindset is really, which I think is with this generation, is authentic community. Like we're building that authentic community to where it's like I want to connect with them on a level to where they can trust me, and they can trust me to the point where whenever they trust me, then they're listening to the gospel, then they're listening to all that, and it's not just on a hype. Yeah, I'm a hype person, but I'm not doing it because I want hype. I'm doing it because I really want to connect with these kids. Like that's like one of my main is like, I want to connect with y'all so that y'all can.
And sometimes the way you connect with them is
community.
through hype, right? I get it. I'm not against none of that.
Yeah.
What I was saying, which I hope is not misconstrued, is like, I think there are parts early on when we were starting Motion Night that when you in your planning, when you had to run up against me and I was like, I don't like this, was not so much because you were doing anything wrong. It's because I remember it was like triggering parts back of Ignite where it's like that became the focus.
This is Justin's problem, not Nate's problem.
And I was trying to, and it almost like, so the only way to protect, now I got to protect you. You don't know what I know. So to keep you from getting there, I'm going to put a stop to this and this. You don't need this part. Keep doing all this, but you don't need this.
Gotcha.
You
Gotcha.
know, and for good, right, wrong, or indifferent. But yeah, no, it was good. It was just, but the thing is, what I think makes it different is you are also, and your whole team is immersed in a church, in a culture where all that other stuff matters. Without that being a thing, back then no one talked about groups and community. That was not a thing. So that wasn't part of, there was no focus on our ministry to do that as far as Ignite. It was about, and I came out, that environment that I was in was heavy evangelistic. Not heavy discipleship in any way. It's still that way. No, not trying to knock, but so our whole thing was, I don't need to connect with them from a discipleship perspective. How many can we get and we'll get them saved?
Gotcha.
Then my thing was, it's not even my problem what to do after them because they came with that other youth group. It's that youth pastor's job to figure them out because we brought all these youth groups together, right? So it was like, we'll just help people get saved. Like I'll just be Pensacola's Matt Pitt. We're just gonna preach and people get saved and we'll go home.
Gotcha.
That was kind of the idea. It was, and that's wrong. I think that was the wrong mentality. Or the time started shifting in the middle of that, and we started saying, I was like, I'm done with this. So we wrapped up. We never did an official ending service. It was just done, and we just quit talking about it. And I mean, sometimes people would ask, but I mean, there's people at our church here now that were a big part of Ignite back in the day. Pat, who watches, shout out Pat Rossi.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Pat,
what?
She comes. She was there at the services, and
was that during her staff era?
Yeah,
I remember that.
Pat had her staff.
See, Pat, I remember that.
The Heimel.
Yeah, Kyle remembers too. Yeah, Kyle was there with us.
The Heimewitzes would come and be a part
of Ignite too.
Yeah, as part of my leaders and stuff.
I just can't imagine being in the same place that I grew up and just doing, like, I can't imagine being in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania, like grow. Like I couldn't. Like it would just be. I'm glad I'm in Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think and there's so many layers, man. It's been hard for whatever reason. Pensacola is just so weird, dude.
Well,
it's been hard. It's been hard for any non-Baptist church to gain traction.
Not only
that, to grow anything. Like
there are more than a few occasions over the years, me and John together, like we joke sometimes, like the whole meme or whatever. Like, look at us, that whole thing.
Who'd have thought? Not me.
But like there are times because John, when I met John, he was 15, 16 in the youth group at the small church I got saved in, and I was friends with his father-in-law. But then as him and his wife were on our leadership team with Ignite, he was in the band and all this stuff. So over the years, John's been a part of so many conversations and meetings that I've been in, whether it was before I was on leadership at the last church I was on staff at as the executive pastor. Even there, I've had the same conversations in every environment, though. I want to do something big. I'm doing something big. Are y'all doing it with me? How are we going to do this? What's the plan? How are we going to get there? And John being a part of that and being involved in those conversations, and we started with Ignite, and we said, this is what we want Ignite to look like, and we want to execute with excellence. Same crap talk that we're doing now in a good way. Then we did that at our last church. But there are times since we've been here, especially lately with the growth and all this stuff, that like, even on a Sunday, John's busy, I'm busy. I don't hardly talk to John on a Sunday, but like we'll pass each other in the back during the last song or worship or something. And I tell John's like, remember, like, look at who'd have thought? Yeah. And it's like, it's almost like we're experiencing what we always were building. We just didn't know what would be a church. At one point, we were thinking, is it going to be is Ignite going to be this thing that's outside of the church world but connected to it?
Gotcha.
But instead, we ended up. It's easier just to do it at a church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They found the missing puzzle piece. That's what it was.
There it is.
Kyle Thompson. The missing puzzle piece back there. They needed the brains back there.
Yeah.
But
it is cool.
It's like, we do. We see it. It's like, so there's been time me and John are like,
we were just talking about walking in on the podcast. It's like I was walking in one of the doors of the auditorium, and you're looking at this big empty room, with 459. Thank you. I knew he knew the number.
Exactly.
Exactly 459 chairs in here. The LED wall on, and just, and it's like, man, who would have thunk it? You know what I mean? Like, this is, you think about where we came from.
And I don't want to say it, but I want to say it in a way. But like, even things like the LED wall at some point in the times where we were in, like how long it would have taken to be able to afford that. We never would have done it. Never, you know what I mean? Just things like that.
Yeah,
it was just
our building held 185 people on Fairfield.
Yeah,
to 240. I remember having 240 on Easter in one service, and the students were sitting on the steps. So the platform had steps across the whole thing. You remember?
Yeah.
And then it kind of jetted out, and the teenagers were sitting on all of the steps sideways, just looking at Pastor Dan preach, and then sitting on the ground like mob style, and against the wall. And then there was people all the way to the back. I mean, there was chairs. We broke fire code.
Oh yeah,
so much, but it was like,
yeah.
But I mean, that was the building held at 185 when it comes to chairs. So it was to now be here in 3 services, mind you, 459, but we're in 3 services. Like that's just unbelievable. So yeah, it is pretty wild. We give Nate all the time a hard time. I'm like, you got it made here, brother. Don't come complaining to me.
And there's some truth to that, and I think there's
he doesn't. By the way,
just think of where I came from, though. Like I came from a church that was over 3,000, 4,000. So it's like, to me, this is like
this tiny little church you work at.
Yeah, literally. Like I'm struggling. Like this is like I didn't grow up in this. This is like I grew up in big. I grew up in ample amounts of money. Like all this stuff, and it's like it's different for me. So even in the churches that I've been a part of in my military, wherever I've lived, I'm like, there's big churches. Like, this is small, but we're growing, and like, I'm
and that's not a knock. I mean, it's just like what we've said before. Even like Rick and Tiff early on when they were on staff here, it was a different mind. Their solution, like when we'd run into like a something in the church that's a problem we got to fix. Their solution was, what do we need to buy to fix that?
Yeah,
and I think you do that. but it's like, but Kyle's been here long enough, and then me, Brad and John don't do that. So it's like, one day I told Rick, I was like, man, y'all been spending a lot of money since y'all got here. You know, like what's going? He's like, well, we said we needed.
We need the thing to fix it.
Yeah, and I'm like, bro, y'all weren't here when it was like, what do we got around here we could fix this
Dude,
with?
I remember.
But then
dude,
he said something smart. He was like, yeah, but we don't have to do it like that anymore. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, you know,
There's a balance.
There's a balance.
I mean, dude, I remember Kyle and I redid the sanctuary on Fairfield ourselves. You were what, 15? Yeah. Kyle was like 14 or 15 years old. He was still in school. We did it over the summer. We did it in 1 week. We gutted that building down to nothing but the floor, the ceiling, and the walls. Took out every speaker, every piece of electronics, and redid the whole thing. Jeez. Hung TVs from the ceilings. This is back. I mean, that's why we hung PA system. We hung speakers. We did it all. We rewired that whole building, put in new lighting. I mean, we did the whole thing by ourselves in 2 weeks. But the budget for that was, I think it was $6,000. It was either $6,000 or $7,000, and I remember sitting in the trustee meeting and them going, "Do we really need to do we need to spend $6,000 or $7,000?" And me being like, "I think the next level for us as a church, we need to spend this." And Kyle took off of work for a whole week and came up there, and we were up there at 3 a.m, 4 a.m. We wanted to build a pallet. We wanted to do a wooden back wall, and we priced out wood, and we were like, we couldn't afford it. So we literally had people bring pallets up there, and we had a Sawzall cutting pallet wood off, and we made a wall out of pallet wood that people donated to us. And then we just
remember the pallet wall.
It looked great, but it was.
I remember the pallet
wall. We
wall.
put gates in it and everything. We could store stuff behind it. But it was just like, I mean, we tore out a baptism. So we had an old school baptism that was made out of concrete. We sledgehammered the front of it out, then built a step on it and turned that into the drum booth and put glass around the front of it. And you had to go behind the air conditioning units and crawl over some sketchy steps to get in. Dude, it was unbelievable. I mean, those were the things we were having to do back then.
That's wild.
Literally.
I mean, to think, I'm not going to say it on air because it doesn't really matter, but to think about like what one of our microphone costs now versus some of the decisions we made back then is unbelievable, you know? But it's also like the quality different, and that was 20 years ago, but, or 15 years ago. So
it just shows, and that's why
that's what
it's so interesting to see where you come from.
Yeah, we used to say it all the time. It's like, you know, some people can make lemonade out of lemons. Like we can make lemon meringue pie out of lemons, bro. So, but no, it is. It's interesting, and it is also. It's nice to be at a point, as going back to what you were saying, and for Nate and Rick and even ourselves, like, you know, Kyle and I get to have these conversations, which is fun. Which is like we're not there anymore, and like praise God, right? Like praise God, we can spend an extra $3,000 and cut 3 days off the time that it would take to accomplish something because we don't have to like have him and Chris Carty and their whole team up here an extra 3 days. It's like, just spend the money, dude. Like, not stupid, you know. It's like we're not wasting it. We're just making it easier on our team and but yeah, those were wild days, and here we are.
And it's like there's no signs of it slowing down. That's the thing. It's like,
Kyle, you ought to put a picture up. Find a picture of Fairfield and put it up. All right, yeah. John knows where they're at. They're in the drive somewhere. John knows where they're at.
I'm excited about where we're headed too. It's like, you know,
yeah.
I don't know. It's like I'm proud of what we have and what we're building. And
well, you know. Yeah, we were just talking about this the other day. Remember standing in the parking lot and being like, "We're here. We finally made it. Like our permanent home." 4 years later, we're like, God, we need something else.
We found our forever home. That's what we said.
We did.
Would you say that's a naive statement?
I would say naive may be a good word. Just
like
I don't know.
Stepping into a new big building, you're like, this is my forever home. Not knowing what's to come.
Maybe
naive.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would use the word naive, but I would use the word like, I don't know. I think
naive is good, not in a negative way, but naive. Innocent. It's innocence, naive. Like, to
especially knowing what we went through with buildings.
Yeah.
You know,
well, not only that,
like we went through the work. I mean, we got a book. We could write a book on this stuff. I mean,
oh my God.
One day we should probably just do a whole lay it out of all the stuff we actually had to go through, and you finally find something that's like, this is it. Knowing it's not the end, but it's like it's a new beginning, or maybe is the way to look at it.
Well, and I think too, I think that's part of it. I think there's not a church on the planet that would have. Me and Joe were just talking about this the other day. It's like you don't sit down and chart out a 3-year time span to get to where we are. Like you can't. What God has done here over the last 3 years has been supernatural. So it's like there was a level of naivety to it of like. There is no church in Pensacola other than us in Echo that has broken the 1,000 barrier that is less than 15 years old. Like we did it in 3 years. So it's just, there's some of the things you just couldn't have seen that coming. And so, to be where we are is pretty miraculous. But I even think too, it's like, I think we try to do our best, or I try to do my best, even for you, where it's like, we brought you on the team when I was taking over as lead pastor, but then the next 3 years, I mean, that was like a living hell for 3 years, man. And there was multiple moments where I was like, dude, Justin didn't sign up for this. Like, that's why I try to give you a shout out as much as I can, because most people don't know. Like, people have no idea. There's how many moments I was like, homie's gonna walk away, dude. Like, not from me and not from God or anything, but just like, dude, this is one giant pain in the butt after another. Like, with the building and the tenants and the things.
Well, and also like you don't know, like as you grow, or maybe not even grow, as you move in jobs, even it's true in the church world, I think, just like in the secular world, it becomes much easier to then go leverage that for other jobs.
Sure.
Yeah. You know what I mean? The first job that ever hired me as an executive pastor, to leverage that into something at a large church, probably wasn't going to happen. But the fact that I came here for a few years, like, could I end up somewhere else? And that was always a thought. And that's the overachiever, ambitious person that is inside of me that's not going anywhere, still exists. So I've had to ask, I wrestle that out all the times to this day still, of like, because my biggest fear in life is regret. Like, I don't want to wake up and be 70 and go, why didn't I move to this city for at least a few years and see what could have happened? Or why didn't I, the connections and networking is a gift of mine. So even starting with Ignite early on, I started making just contacts, and the guys at the basement that were behind the scenes, other than Matt Pitt, like, I knew these guys, but I was like, man, like, to think when I knew my season was up at my last church, to think how hard would it be to get on at Highlands or somewhere like that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and go make maybe 6-figure income.
Yeah.
And then what could my skills lend to them?
Yeah.
But then there's a part of me that's like, that's a machine that exists.
Yeah.
You're going to fall in line and run those plays. So do I want to run plays that other people created, or do I want to be involved in making plays? And that's kind of where it's like,
that was where
do you land?
There's a lot of conversations like that early on, which I think was really cool. Like we, again, even before we hired John, I mean, when it was me and you and a couple of the girls that worked with us, and we were sitting in the office, and it was almost kind of like, we were sitting in the office, and I remember saying over and over and over again, like, we're gonna build this thing, and I'm gonna trust my gut. And I remember having the conversation about culture and being like, we're gonna go all in on this culture thing, on the why culture and some of these things. We're gonna go all in on this, and if it doesn't work, then we killed it. But if it works, we're gonna create something that, we didn't see being here, but it's like we did say, like, we're going to create something nobody has ever created. Like, we're going to create a church that's different than anything that our city has seen so far.
Right.
And I do remember having those conversations 7 years ago, and coming out of COVID, and then 2021, and then all the way up to where we are now. And what I think is really cool is sitting in Next Steps and hearing people say the exact phrases we said 7 years ago in the office when our church was running 200-something people.
Yeah.
And them going, what I love about the church is the culture, and this about the teams and the environment and how you can smell it in the air. And I remember You know what I mean? It's like we were having those conversations to say, like, these are the things that I don't see anyone else doing, and we're going to be great at these things. And fighting, to some degree, fighting some of the old school dream teamers on, like, we're going to do this. And like, that's dumb. No other church does that. And I was like, but we're going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're going to take better care of this, or we're going to have a team that pays attention to excellence on campus. And people were like, that sounds foolish. Why would you have a vibe team that, you know, like, just have someone that makes coffee? And it's like, no, we're going to have a whole team dedicated to excellence on campus. Like, and people being like, that just sounds dumb. And now here we are. People are like, I love how much excellence is, you know, and having to, like, you know, Kyle's back here laughing, but I mean, like, standing up for Kyle in certain moments where Kyle, being young in leadership, would make the right decision, but he would do it. He would go about it the wrong way. Like, so he would, like, just be brash. He would be a bulldozer. So someone would be like, why are we doing this? And Kyle would, you know, like, if you don't like it, you're stupid, or something. Like, Kyle would just, like, kind of bulldoze over it, and me coming behind Kyle and cleaning up a little bit, but also telling the person, but what you have to understand is, like, Kyle's not wrong. Like, the excellence is part of who we are, and he's holding the standard for that. I'll talk to him about how he talked to you, but what he said isn't wrong. Just how he said it is wrong. But they were disagreeing. They were like, no, I don't agree. Like, why do we need to spend an extra 20 minutes at rehearsal to make sure that we button up transitions, or that the video plays and it was like, yeah. But now, you know,
it's like we spent it's like, I have a hard time with, like, we talk about, even in our culture, we want a culture of feedback. And those are things I battle, because there's a part of me,
I don't want your feedback.
There's a part of me, like, in all honesty, in all honesty, I
know where you're going with this.
But because I've thought about this for weeks. I just told you about it, and you're a leader, and you have an opinion based on 10 seconds of you processing it, and you want to give me feedback. Not interested.
Yeah.
Not interested.
Well, no, it's true.
And not that your feedback is bad. You have 10 seconds of process. I have hours upon hours, and I'm gifted at the zoom out. I'm gifted at the zoom out, look from every angle at 30,000 feet, and not everybody's good at that. Yeah. And a lot of people's version of feedback is, I don't like this, so I'm going to tell you why it won't work.
Right.
And I know that as well. So a lot of times I've had to learn as a leader. That's where leadership, you know, and development comes in, where it's like, because I have learned over the years that sometimes in all that, you do hear some good feedback, something valuable, you know, but
especially from people that can do, you know, Kyle's like a prime example of someone whose feedback has always been helpful, because he sees big picture as well.
Yeah. I mean, but, you know,
differently
early
sometimes.
on, I was kind of labeled as like the
the jerk,
the jerk, or the control freak, or whatever. And it was like, I'm so willing to wear that, though. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I
badge of honor over here.
I know you don't know what I know, and I know that you don't know what I know. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, when we, just like I was telling someone on our dream team this past week, last podcast we talked about how we're going to do something with changing the seats, and you're going to file in and all that, and we tested it at Reframe on Friday night.
You brought it up on the podcast
last week.
Yeah,
we did.
And I was having a conversation with some of the ushers afterwards, and I told them, I was like, what frustrates me, because some of the people didn't like it. Some of you guys watching even maybe were ones that didn't like it.
Maybe it was you. We don't know.
And I told one of the dream teamers, just to give you insight into our I was like, what frustrates me the most about the people who were complaining is, if I could talk to them, do you think we walked in and just said, let's piss everybody off and file them in and make them sit in seats they don't want to sit? Like, do you think that's what we did?
Right.
And if you think that, like,
yeah,
let me look at all the cameras. Like really? Like, at the end of the day, if you don't have the wherewithal to turn your little head around and look that the room is packed, we're trying to maximize seating. Like, there's a purpose for it. And at the end of the day, do we want to do that? No.
Growth doesn't happen
But
without
what
change.
else do we do?
Yeah.
Like,
But that's
what-
why our purpose is bigger than my preference.
Right, but
Hey,
what
come
else do
on.
we? There's only 459 chairs in here, and if we need every one, we
Yeah.
need you to slide down. Now, you may not want to sit in the one next to you, but we still need to put someone in the seat.
Yep.
So it's like we're not just coming here to be jerks. Like, what do you expect us to do?
Yeah.
And what would you do if you were us? You know, and it's like the thing is like, but no one thinks of that. And so to think we make these decisions off of a whim is crazy.
Yeah.
But and that's just little stuff. At the end of the day, though, the stuff that people do love, the culture, the stuff that the vibe that people feel that is what we hear. These things, like you said, next steps. When you hear people say it, it's like, man, we built that. It's like that is cool.
Yeah.
And that's why I did not leave or want to go somewhere bigger or something like that. You know, like a Highlands or something. It's like whether we. Because you got to define out what does success mean, you know? Like,
Yeah.
am I only successful if I work at a church that's got thousands and thousands of people?
Yeah.
No. It's all relative, right? But I know here where my mark is.
Right.
Most people in here don't. Most people in our church don't realize the mark that even I have on it. And it's not I don't mean that to brag, but it's like I just know what I was a part of, and that gives me fulfillment.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, and that's the funny part we have is like when we've talked even with leaders when they could talk about me and Brad, and I'm like, people don't realize how similar we are behind closed doors. I was like, I get labeled a jerk, and everybody thinks Brad's this. Oh,
true.
everybody loves Pastor Brad.
It's
He's
true.
He's so insightful, and I'm like. He thinks what I think. I just say, you know.
He's just the bad guy for me. That was that's
but
literally it.
it's funny. It's just, but I know where my mark has been, and I think that gives me great joy. You know.
Well, I think part of what you said is so true too. As we're wrapping up for today, but I think part of what you said is really interesting too. It's like people really underestimate. I mean, Nate sees it. Everybody sees it. But I remember when you started working here, I think you started seeing it and was. You'd always be like, what is he doing when I'm just walking around the building? And he would be like, and I'd just be standing there looking at a doorway. And he's like looking at the doorway like, what is he doing? Like, why is he looking at this doorway? And I remember you asking me when we were getting ready to do the new entrances. And you were like, what are you looking at? And I was like, I think we're going to tear new holes in the wall and make different entrances. And you were like, what? You're like, what? And I was like, yeah, I think we can create a better track. Like, but I mean, dude, I walked through the building for months just staring at the walls and staring at the doorways and walking to the auditorium and staring at the walls and staring at the doorways and just running it through my head. And in that process, you know, what if we did them here? No, that won't work because, well, what about that? That won't work because that would work. All right, here's the 5 options we have, and then talking with people that have good feet. It's like that process, but again, like to a lot of people in the church, that week we made a decision to tear holes in the wall and put doors in. It's like, dude, we've been chewing on this for 9 months. Like,
well, in a lot of the ways, in a lot of the things, the way it happens, in some way, you know, it may not always be the same way, but it's like we don't have these conversations. Like this stuff, he'll start thinking randomly about something on his own, but then at one point I'll come up and say, you know, if we cut doors in, and he's like, I've been thinking about that, and it's like literally,
that's literally happens.
there's
all
a
the
lot
time.
of stuff where it's like some of the stuff we have in our church is not because we sat together and planned it. He was thinking, whoever thought at first, probably him, I would, you know, just would guess. And I don't know if it's like the confirmation that comes or,
Yeah, for sure.
you know.
Well, I think for me, it's always a state of wonder. And I think for you, it's a problem to be solved.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think
true.
I see it coming from further off because that wonder part of my brain where I'm just constantly like looking around like this could change, this could change, this could change. And I think you and Kyle's also really good about this too, of just popping up and being like, hey, I'm seeing this coming like a train and we should probably get out of the way of it or pivot or whatever. And that's usually when I'm like, I'm glad you said that. I think blah. And it's like, all right, so we're gonna, you know, we're gonna put a TV there, all right, or whatever. Like, but I think that is, and I think that's part of what makes our team kind of special. And doing the Patrick Lencioni stuff was really helpful too, because I think it helped us see where, you know, even like we talk about with Nate, where it's like full circle moment as we close. When Nate looks at is when he's thinking about a video for motion night, knowing that you're
galvanizing, and then the next one after galvanizing.
Tenacity, I think, right?
The enablement, the one who gets it started.
Yeah,
but
gets it
doesn't
started.
finish. Right.
So as I think about like your gift set, you're not doing it because you need a cool factor. You're doing it because you think it's gonna bring something together, right? It's that galvanizing gift set. And I think that's what, I think that's what makes everyone on our team. That's what makes our team really special, is because we've identified the seat that each person sits in. We can ask the right person the right questions and not bog people down with information they can't. Like, if I were to pull you in here and be like, I think I want to put a door right there, you'd be like,
well, and that's
sounds good to me. Like, you
and
put a
that's
door
happened
there.
when we sat in the lobby. Like, what do you think about this?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I would like get frustrated because my mind's a blank. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something, and I when I can't do something, that's my competitive nature. It makes me mad. So it's like,
but it's helpful because it's like. But now it's like there are certain things. Now I know it's like there are things I ask you.
Yeah.
I'll come to you and be like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Like whether it has to do with clothes or Gen Z stuff or even sermon topics, stuff like that. Like I'll come to check, and it's like you have input in ways that's been super valuable. So all that to say is like we've been able to build something really cool here. Yeah. We're super grateful for all you guys that are watching this.
If you need fashion advice, let me know.
Nature guy.
I got you.
Yeah.
Ain't that right, Justin?
Yeah. Well, Justin still dresses like he's 55. So as we both sit here in polos and watch it. Anyways,
Timeless.
Yeah. No, we appreciate all you guys. You guys getting away from me here. Appreciate you guys, and you're honestly, like, we've worked really hard, and we talk about that was the point of today's podcast.
All for the glory of God.
All for the glory of God. But honestly, it would mean nothing if we didn't have great people going to our church. We can put systems and culture and do all that stuff, but you guys are the ones that you take what we've worked so hard on and you allow it to be showcased in our hallways and in our auditoriums, and if you're listening on our worship teams, in the dream team, in groups, and that's
We love you.
I told
That's
someone
necessary.
at Reframe, I think it was Pat, and Pat's probably listening or watching. Me and Pat were just having a conversation, and I think she said something like, "Thank you." And I was like, "For what?" She was like, for all you do. I think it was something along those lines. You're welcome, Pat. By the way, but I was like, right now is just such a crazy time, a good time in our church. And I was like, it's fun right now. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun right now.
Yeah.
Because
For
it's
sure.
like there's still unknowns and all this stuff. It's like we mention all the time as we leave. Like we're not in a groove, and we've never been in one. And I'm like, when are we going to find our groove that we're just kind of in?
Yeah,
And
I
like
would say I don't. No,
we're not, and it's like, and that's okay because we're growing and things change all the time, and things that worked when there were 500 people don't work when there's 1,000 and that type of thing. So it's like we're not in this. Nobody just shows up and is in this groove.
Yeah.
It might look like it from the outside in,
Well,
but
yeah.
Yeah.
If you've learned anything, if you've been to our church for a while, if you've learned anything, what you hopefully have learned is there are always problems being solved behind the scenes, and sometimes it takes 6 months to solve the problem, but 1 week to see it show up.
Right.
So if there's something you're dealing with, I don't know, like the kids drop-off pickup line, just know that we're not blind to it. You'll show up one Sunday and go, oh my gosh, they solved the problem. Well, it took us 6 months to get everything figured out. That, and there's only so many walls around here, so we're working
using
on
every
it.
square inch of this building.
Literally,
Promise
every
you.
square, literally. Yeah, all of our staff shares one office for the most part. So, but anyways, we got to go. I love you guys. There's
go
work.
fund me for my own
I gotta-
office.
you gotta Go fund. Go. That's wild. Yeah, or the Imagine campaign.
Or for the rent you're going to need. Since you did that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Awesome.
Well, go find us online and stuff. We got to get out of here.
See you guys.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Go find the song. You got to this point. Surely you can find it.